Day. The field looks awfully fast. Actually, Ernie, I'm surprised with as much rain as we've had in the last week. I mean, we haven't had a tremendous amount of rain, but the field does look very, very good. I think that we can be pleased with all of the help we've had on Houck Stadium. It's been kept in excellent shape all year.
Well, we certainly can, and certainly enough credit couldn't be given to these groundskeepers for the way that they've kept this field up. And we've had rain all for the last 2 days. And as Dick Wilson said, the field appears to be in relatively good shape. So I'm looking for a good football game, and I don't think that either team is going to have to get away too much from their game plan as far as field conditions are concerned.
Well, Scott Duncan and Mike Sullivan have just taken the coin toss. I hope that we can receive at this point. You never know what the strategy is. We have absolutely no wind. Aubrey Smith and Robert Butler are the team captains from Verbum Dei. Cabrillo has just now came out on the field, and the coaches are following them. We're right on the button. We don't have a tremendous crowd, nothing like last week, that's for sure, Ernie.
Well, no, certainly, but you're never going to have a crowd in here like you do for Lompoc Cabrillo High School football. And I think that that crowd here last week is just an indication of how much football means in this Lompoc Valley. Verbum Dei obviously didn't bring the cheering section up that Lompoc had here last week. But I don't think that means a lot to these kids. It's a big ball game for them, and they want to go on in CIF and do as well as they can, and ultimately go to the championship game.
Well, Cabrillo's won the toss, and we're going to receive the kickoff. So that's a good sign. I hope we can carry it right through the game, Ernie.
Okay, and we'll be back with the opening kickoff right after this.
Houston Costello kicks off for Verbum Dei. Mike Marcelli takes the ball on approximately the 12-yard line. The tackle was made by Carlos Lacefield. Well, I'll tell you, the ball isn't exactly where we'd like to have it, Ernie, but it's outside the 30-yard line, and it's in reasonably good field position.
Well, it is, Dave. They got 1st and 10 from their 30. They should be able to move the ball relatively well.
Well, we've got a slot right, divide. The ball is handed. We break into the secondary. Rod Davis picks up approximately 22 yards on that carry, Ernie. I hope the rest of the plays can be as successful as that one was. That's a good start.
A good play at that time by a good run by Rod Davis, but just a tremendous hole opened up that time by the left side of the offensive line of Cabrillo. And as you say, Dave, they are off and running here on the first offensive play.
Got a wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback, hands off. Almost exactly the same play now. Good for another 10 yards. I think the coaches believe if something works, keep working at it.
Well, you know, they say run it until it's stopped and then run it one more time to see if it was an accident. So Cabrillo now running the same play twice in a row and picked up about 25 or 30 yards.
Well, Verbum Dei is now shuffling a lot of defensive people trying to get their starters out to patch that hole. We're in the same formation. Slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson comes down the line of scrimmage, gives a dive play. Kenny Walton runs for a good 7 yards. That's the first time he's picked up or carried the ball, and did a good job.
Well, they're working. They're running every play that they run to the left side of that offensive line. They had a different ball carrier that time, but the play was the same. Just different people carrying the ball.
Wide slot right, divide. We're staying in that. Coach Knowles is calling the plays. Ed Knowles. There's the same player. Well, the coaches from Verbum Dei at least had a chance to pull their starters out and give them a little correction. It didn't go for 20 that time.
No, well, that's true. But they still are running to the left side of the line. They pulled it a little tight that time, ran it off of the guard rather than wide off the tackle. But I think that Cabrillo has seen something in the films probably that they got from Verbum Dei, and thus far it's been a good omen for them.
2nd and 6. Wide slot right, divide. It's going to be 3rd down and very close. 3rd down, or it's going to be close to a 1st down. I think the officials are going to stop and measure that ball.
Well, it's going to be close. It's awfully close to a 1st down, and I think now Dave, the big thing is that Cabrillo really has got to go in and score on this drive. They've moved the ball well against these people, and to go down now and not be able to score, I think, will take some of the wind out of their sails. But I think that what they need to go in now and score as quickly as they possibly can.
You know, this is what happened last week against Lompoc. They started right out. They drove 80 yards for a touchdown, scored immediately. They seemed to keep the momentum going for the entire half and went in ahead at halftime. Now it's just a matter of finding out whether they can keep this type of enthusiasm up and keep calling the correct plays. They've stayed on the ground, haven't had one pass so far.
Well, this is true, and it's going to be interesting to see just how well they're going to be able to pass if they have to go to a passing game with the field in the condition that it is. But the field, as I say, looks in relatively good shape.
Kenny Walton and Rod Davis, the two running backs, divide set. A little counter. Rod Davis picks up another 7 or 8 yards. They're just running that play until they just stop it now, Ernie. I figured that after those 2 long games, the Verbum Dei coaches would have made enough adjustment to where they might not run that play each time, but they sure haven't been able to stop it so far.
Well, thus far, the people to the right side of the offensive line of Cabrillo can pretty much just take a break because they haven't had very much to do except seal and block downfield. And I think, as I say, Cabrillo's going to run to the left side until Verbum Dei stops him.
Well, they're steering the same formation, wide slot divide. Come down for a dive play. Fitz Wilson hands off to Kenny Walton. Looks like it's good for the first down. I don't see any flags.
I don't see a flag. I did see a flag, what I thought was a flag, but then Rod Davis picked it up and threw it off on the sideline. So apparently that's something that fell out of his helmet or out of his equipment somewhere. Maybe he carries his own flag with him.
A little wider, twin right. It looks like they put that slot back out a little wider. Same backs. Hand to Rod Davis for about 2. That's the first time now that Verbum Dei has actually been able to stop Cabrillo.
Well, enough though, I think, for the first down. It was a dive play, and it's going to be awfully close.
Well, I sure wouldn't want to second guess any of the coaches, but it's a lot more fun being up here and second guessing them on the top row of the bleachers than down there trying to call a play. I really believe that Coach Knowles is going to start outside a little bit with something, maybe an option, a counter option. Who knows? We'll just wait and see. Same little play, little trap. It looks like they might be trapping that now, Ernie.
Well, they are. They're trapping, and they're using number 73 for Cabrillo, Vivi Miranda, to trap. And thus far, he's been awfully successful as the linebacker to the left side linebacker is just crashing right down. It's not very hard to trap him because he's pretty much taking himself out of the play.
Well, you know, the coaches have been very pleased with our interior line. Viva Miranda and Gary Soik are 2 guards. They're in a tight wishbone. A little bit of a beautiful tackle by Verbum Dei and a good job. It'll be 4th and probably a yard.
Davis, the ball carrier. Tackle made.
4th and about a short 2, I would say. This is going to be a key play right now. Fitz Wilson has the ability to throw the ball. We saw that last week just before half. But it looks to me like they're running on their field goal team.
Well, I was going to say it's going to see how close to the vest the Cabrillo coaching staff intends to play this ball game tonight. And I think the big thing they want to do is put some points on the scoreboard early.
Well, Mike Sullivan has not missed an awfully lot from this distance. He's pretty accurate from this spot. Oh, a little fake play now. 2 men are open, just short.
Not a bad play, both.
Number 8, Grant, was the one that delivered the ball. They had him in holding the ball. They rolled to the right. Everyone was there. What do you think, Ern?
Well, that was Fitz Wilson, actually, that holds for Sullivan. And the pass was intended for Morgan, and he just threw the ball a little short into the dirt. But they had 2 people that were wide open over there in Sullivan and 85, the tight end. So I'm sure we're going to come back and see that. It's unfortunate that they didn't score, but they have Verbum Dei deep in their territory.
Well, this is the first time we've seen Verbum Dei. They're in a very pro-eye offense. Man in motion, tailback goes in motion, gives to the fullback. I'll tell you, teams have had a tough time running there all year now. I'll be surprised if they stay that way very long, Ernie.
Well, at that time, J.J. Morris, and J.J., probably his forte is pass rushing, But he'll sit in the hole and wait for a runner to come to him, and that's what Verbum Dei did that time, and relatively no gain.
Well, those two linebackers now, Scott Duncan in the middle now has done a good job all year. Number 18, Charles Thomas, 5'9", 150 pound. He's a junior, and he didn't get much on that one. Now, Scott Duncan has done a good job for us all year at middle linebacker, and I expect him to have a tremendous series if we keep going on in CIF.
Well, actually, defensively, the key to Cabrillo's defense depends on Scott and Tower Davis. If they have good ball games, then Cabrillo is going to have a good ball game, relatively good ball game defensively. I had expected Verbum Dei to come in here throwing the football as most Los Angeles schools do. Thus far, they've kept it on the ground, and they're playing right into Cabrillo's defense.
Well, there's no question that most teams have had a tough time running inside our tackles. At this time, we're in a tight formation. I see a flag on the play. That was a broken play there now, Ernie. I think the wingback must have moved, and also the split end moved.
Well, they were throwing.
We'll have to wait and see now.
They're thrown for a loss, and I'm sure Cabrillo will refuse the penalty if, in fact, the penalty is against Verbum Dei and put them in a punting situation. But Cabrillo, as I said, no team is going to come in here and run against Cabrillo, I don't think, and have any success. So they're going to have to open up and throw the ball.
Well, they've run their punting team in. It'd be awfully nervy this early in the game to do anything different, so I think we're expecting a punt right now. We'll find out what type of punting game they have.
4th and 9 from the 6.
Kenny Walton is deep.
There it is.
Vincent Flowers, number 48, received the punt, ran it back to approximately the 24-yard line. Excellent field position.
Well, I don't want to belabor the point, but Cabrillo now unable to score on their first series of downs. They got good field position again, and they can ill afford not to take advantage of some of these opportunities that they had.
Well, Bob Radford has really integrated a fine, a multiple type of offensive formations and set. They can do an awfully lot. Now, there's a fumble on the play. Fitz Wilson seemed to have a little trouble with the handoff, going down the line on the option, fumbled the ball, and Verbum Dei recovered.
So that's the first turnover of the ball game. 5 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the first quarter, and Cabrillo on the fumble. And as I say, Verbum Dei unable to move the ball very well against them on the ground. And I look now, Dave, to see them come out throwing the ball.
Well, that was Yule Jenkins, number 21, 6'3", 185-pound junior, recovered the ball after Fitz Wilson's fumble. I'll tell you, we couldn't complain about our field position, Arnie. We've had good field position since the opening kickoff. We've got 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in this quarter. I'm real surprised we haven't been able to take advantage with this kind of field position. It can't be nerves particularly because this Cabrillo group has played good football all year. And I can't imagine the field being very wet at this point.
No, I can't either. It hasn't rained now. And as I say, this field drains really well. And
say wing left motion. Giving the ball to the fullback for about 4 yards. 42, Ken Smith is the ball carrier. It'll be 2nd and 6 at the 30-yard line. We've seen one pass attempted. That was by Cabrillo on a fake field goal attempt. Okay, we've got a pro right eye. Motion. Giving the ball to the fullback. For about 5 yards, Ken Smith, the ball carrier.
44, Keith Daniel, making the stop for the conquistadors. Gain of 5 for the Eagles.
It's going to be 3rd and a very, very short yard and a half.
Verbum Dei now moving the ball on the ground against Cabrillo.
looked like a busted play, and it looked like Verbum Dei did not have enough men on the field.
Well, I think they had enough on the field, but I don't think they had enough people where they were supposed to be.
No, that's a very, very good possibility.
They had an unbalanced line to the left side and actually ran to the right. I don't know if it was designed that way, but that's the way it was run, and that brings up a 4th down.
4th and 2.
Kenny Walton deep. It looks like they're going to, they shift into punt formation. Nice high punt. Vincent Flowers receives the fair catch. Ball is on the 29-yard line.
So actually, Dave, Verbum Dei on the exchange of punts has actually gained yardage on Cabrillo. But I think Flowers was a little upset that time with Kenny Walton because apparently Kenny didn't tell him what to do, and he called for the fair catch, and he thought he had some running room, and I do too.
Yeah, well, it looks like he did have a little bit of running room. I think he might should have taken that. That's a wide slot divide. There's the option. Kenny Walton, number 23, gains about 4 yards. Cabrillo has done a good job all year with the option. They run both the counter option as well as the just the option divide from the divide set. And Fitz Wilson can handle the ball real well.
Yes, he can, but that was a good move that time by number 32 for Verbum Dei, the linebacker, because I thought Kenny Walton had a lot of running room, and 32 came in and shut that play down relatively well.
Roderick Stiggers, number 32. The wide slot left, divide. Fitz Wilson is saying something to his split backs. There's the option to the left. Rod Davis, number 21. He's been the workhorse of the Conquistadors all year. Now that's very close to a first down, Ernie.
Close to a first down, a good call, a good run, and a good play, and a good block by both Sullivan and number 80 of the Conquistadors, or the wide receivers on their downfield blocks. And we're now going to see, I'm pretty sure, the wishbone offense for Cabrillo for the first time tonight.
You know, one of the things that has been brought to my attention, too, is that Verbum Dei is not worried about the pass at this moment. They have just about everyone up on the line of scrimmage. I'm sure we're going to go for the first down here because it's such a short distance. But they're in a very tight offensive set. Wishbone gave it to our fullback. I don't think he made that, Ernie. Now, that was pretty close.
This is going to be a left foot, right foot spot as far as Cabrillo is concerned. If he spots it with the right foot, they didn't make it. If he spots it with the left, they did.
Yeah, that was an excellent job by Verbum Dei. They've tightened up their defense considerably and just plain stopped them on that play.
They've seen the films.
Yes, they do exchange film.
Yeah, they do.
Well, Cabrillo's gotten in that little wishbone the last 2 or 3 weeks and done an effective job because they can put 2 good running backs in the game at the same time. Well, all 3 of them are good running backs, but when they put all 3 of those backs in that wishbone, it's obvious they've got plenty of power and fellas that can definitely run the football.
Okay, Dave, you and I both have coached at Cabrillo. The ball's at the 37-yard line. They have about the length of the football to go. What do you think?
I think they should punt, but last week the same thing happened. They came out and got the first down.
Well, we'll see, because that's what they're going to try this time.
Exactly. Here's a very gutsy play early in the ball game. This is not a good percentage play. Only if they make it. Was it an excellent call? And it is an excellent call.
What a fine call by Coach Bob Bradford.
I was behind him all the way. But, you know, that's the difference in this football team this year under Bob Bradford and maybe previous Cabrillo teams. We've been accused of being awfully conservative, Cabrillo. We were under Everett Jones. We were a little conservative under Ed Knowles. And I'm telling you right now, I'll admit that I was conservative at times.
You'd open it up every once in a while.
Wide slot right, divide. 1st and 10 on the 40. Quarterback sneak. I don't know whether there was a bobble with Fitz Wilson or that was a planned play, but he picked up about 2.5 yards.
One thing I do know, there's a flag on the play.
Well, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, motion.
Early marker is
Now, Dave, you'd open it up a little bit. I remember the first time in the 14 to 15 years I ever saw Cabrillo, they threw the ball inside the 20-yard line. You were the head coach then.
Well, there have been a few games that I got mad and said, I'm going to please the fans the best I can. The heck with winning the football game. People have accused me of that, too, now, Ernie. No, it's pretty hard to please everyone, but I think Bob Radford has told his signal callers to open up this year, and I think you're going to see in CIF competition some passing. Here's a wide slot ride, divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback, fakes and passes. Oh, pass interference, absolutely. I'll tell you what. The custodians got aggravated at that now. They knew what it was happening.
Well, everybody threw a flag, including the timekeeper.
Absolutely. We had everyone in the stands that knew what that call was.
I reached for my hip pocket.
Well, that's going to help a little bit now.
But you were talking about ball players here for Cabrillo. Last week at the end of the first half when Cabrillo went in and scored on the last play of the first half, and I was told by Coach Ed Knowles that Fitzgerald Wilson actually called that play. They had told him to go throw to the sideline. He said, no, Coach. I looked up. It was 2 seconds on the clock. Well, I threw to the sidelines and called the play and went in for the touchdown. So he's the thinker out there.
Well, I think there's no question. There's a reason why Cabrillo is 9-1 at this point, and it has to do with the seniors being able to think in an impromptu way and handle that football and handle it without the coaches actually walking him through the plays. Okay, we've got a wide slot right divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback, gives the ball in the same play that's been effective earlier, but they're stopping that play now, Ernie. We're going to have to go on to something else.
A minute 14 seconds left to play with the clock running here in the first quarter, and to be perfectly frank with you, Dave, I thought the score would be something other than nothing, having seen the play of Cabrillo and Verbum Dei here in the first quarter. So credit has to be given to Verbum Dei. They're bending, but they're not breaking.
Well, there's no question they've been in trouble all night. I think that we're going to have to see the people open up a little bit. And knowing Cabrillo in the past, that's what's going to happen. There's a little quick pitch to Kenny Walton. Run out of bounds by number 20, Thomas Archie, 5'8", 145-pound junior.
Archie played that well. He's the corner to the right side, and I think that the thing that Cabrillo has got to do now is throw the football. Verbum Dei now is not respecting their passing game at all. They got everybody in tight to stop the run, which has been successful for Cabrillo, and I think that at this point in time, if they call a pass play now, they're going to have some problems covering some of these wide receivers.
Well, here's a perfect time because it's third and a long 7. They're going into a wide slot right divide. Fitz Wilson rolls out to the right. He's got lots of running room, too. You know, there was a situation there now. He might have made the wrong choice there, Ernie.
I think so, and you can't, Fitzgerald generally makes the right decision, but as you say, there was a seam up the middle, and I think he could have gotten probably at least a first down, if not more, on that play had he just tucked the ball in and run with it.
Well, that's always a hard decision to make with a young quarterback, is whether you're going to throw the football or run it. And I'll tell you right now, in most cases, if you can hold on to that football and run without putting the ball in the air, it's actually a safer play. In that situation, Fitz saw the receiver, and he immediately threw the ball, but it was incomplete.
Okay, Verbum Dei having a problem getting their kick receive team on the field and call a timeout, and we'll be back with the remaining 33 seconds after this. 33 seconds left to play in the first quarter. We have no score. Cabrillo 4th down and about to punt to Verbum Dei.
John Roberts, 183-pound, 6'1", senior. Beautiful punt, rolled down to approximately the 5-yard line. I'll tell you, our punting game's been a little bit to be desired all year, but I'll tell you what, he sure got a good one off there.
Well, one thing that the Roberts has done, and I have to agree with you, he doesn't kick the ball very long, but he has always been able to kick the ball high. That time he got a good roll, and they buried Verbum Dei deep into their territory with 20 seconds and the clock running, and we probably have seen the last play of the first quarter.
10, Verbum Dei from their own 5.
Well, Verbum Dei goes into a pro right, I, handing it off to the fullback for approximately 2-yard gain. So it'll be 2nd and about 7. Second and 7, second and 8.
We've seen the last play of the first quarter, and the score, Dave, tied at 0-0, and I'm a little surprised, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a little bit, especially we've had good field position. We've thrown 2 or 3 passes. Verbum Dei's up real tight at this point. Unless, it's possible that there's a lot more moisture on the field than we realize. But the officials seem to be keeping the ball good and dry, so I sort of expect us to open up a little bit right now. But again, I want to tell you right now, it's fun to be up here with you, Ernie, second-guessing those signal callers down there.
It is.
I love it.
We'll be back with the second quarter or the remainder of tonight's ball game with the score at the end of the first quarter tied. Cabrillo's nothing, Verbum Dei nothing.
We're back in offensive football right now. Verbum Dei has the ball on the 6-yard line. Second and a long 8. Motion left. Quarterback sprints to the left. Beautiful defensive play. I'll tell you, that's what we needed right now. Steve Pyro, number 33. Steve Pyro is 165 pounds, 5'10", and he's only a junior. That was a big play at the right time, Ernie.
I don't know what the fullback for Verbum Dei was thinking about that time, but Pyro ran right past him and almost shook his hand as he went in there to get the quarterback and burying him deep now. So this is going to be a big down now for Cabrillo. But one thing, Dave, and I'm going to belabor it, they're going to have to do something after this turnover.
Well, there's another flag there, so that's going to put them back a little farther. It's possible now that they may refuse that penalty now.
Well, I'm sure they will. There was no gain on the play if he did, in fact, got back to the line of scrimmage. But the thing is that Verbum Dei, considering that they haven't played as well as some teams that have played against Cabrillo, have held them scoreless, and this is the thing that's amazing to me.
Well, 11 minutes, 18 seconds into the second quarter. The score is 0-0. Cabrillo's got Verbum Dei, their backs to the wall. It's obvious they're going to punt this one out of there. I sort of look for us to maybe rush this one now, knowing Ed Knowles and his defensive strategy and Bob Radford. They're going to put everybody up there and see if we can block this son of a gun.
It would be a good move, but now they're dropping 3 men back, so maybe they're going to try for the return.
It's a rather short punt down to about the 30, taken by Kenny Walton, number 23. Kenny brings it back about 5 yards. We've got great field position, Ernie.
So all night long, Cabrillo have had outstanding field position and unable to take advantage of it. Let's see if they open the game up a little bit here.
We're going to have to stop saying that, aren't we?
Yes.
We're running it into the ground. That's the same play that we had a little trouble with last week now. Going to the left side now, although the pitch was to Ken last year, Ken Walton, last week. That was the same problem, going to the left.
Dave, in both cases, tonight and last week, I don't think it was a bad pitch.
Well, it didn't look like it from here.
No, from here it doesn't look like it's a bad pitch.
But you know what? It was a little rush, had to be real quick. We've got a wide slot right, divide. Option. This makes the pitch this time to Kenny Walton, but I'll tell you, Verbum Dei is right there.
But that time, the wide receiver for Cabrillo, number 80.
That's Mike Deal.
Mike Deal. He stood and watched them. He watched the whole thing just like we did, and had he thrown a block, Kenny might have had some running room to the outside.
Well, they're taking him out of the game and probably talking to him a little bit right now, Ernie. Okay, we have a pro left divide. Straight drop back pass by Fitz. Little drop pass to number 85, their favorite receiver, Scott Duncan. And he picks up about 9 yards, but it's still going to be short of the first down.
Now, he could have had a little more running room that time, but the pass was a little too far downfield. He had Soto and the guard to this side, Miranda, in front of him, but they couldn't go any further, and they pretty much held him up until he caught the football. So I think if Wilson had gotten the ball to him a little sooner, we may have seen a bigger...
Well, they also threw it into the short side of the field, so he didn't have much running room. Pro left, divide, fourth. That looked like a quarterback draw. At least it started out as a quarterback draw. And Fitz Wilson just didn't have any running room.
Fitz is a little upset at Duncan, so I don't know. Maybe it was that quick pass over the middle, and maybe I wasn't watching Duncan. Maybe he got held up a little bit and couldn't get out.
Well, I'll be anxious to see that on the films, because it looked like to me that the fellow that was tracking Fitz down grabbed his face mask. It looks like that's what Fitz was a little aggravated about. Well, it's 1st and 10 on the 31-yard line. Verbum Dei has not yet opened the game up.
Verbum Dei now having called a timeout, and again, they're not very well organized, and that's their second timeout, and it may come back to haunt them with 9 minutes, 5 seconds left to play in the first half. We're in a scoreless ball game, and we'll be back with the remainder after this. 9 minutes, 5 seconds left to play in the game, and it'll be 1st and 10 for Verbum Dei from their 30-yard line.
Number 42, Ken Smith, ball carrier. Tackled by number 75, J.J. Morris.
J.J. Morris made the tackle. I'll tell you, there was a very nice hole there for a short period of time, and J.J. Morris came off of the block and made a good tackle in the hole. I'm again surprised now, with 8 minutes and 42 seconds left in the second quarter. I think both teams are playing a waiting game.
Well, yeah, I think they're all waiting for the big break, and I must say that at this point, I think Cabrillo has had it a couple of times.
Motion right. There's the option. Excellent play. Excellent play by 34, Terry Brantley. Now, that's the first time I've seen him in the game so far. Terry's a real strong, stout, quick interior lineman. He just seemed to quickly shoot by and tackle that quarterback before he had any running room at all.
Well, the bright side of both Brantley and J.J. Morris, as far as Cabrillo is concerned, is both of them will be back next year.
Well, Coach Radford's pretty pleased and excited about having so many people coming back off of this fine football team. Little motion. They're going to call a flag on them again. Their tailback was in motion, so it's going to be brought back.
Number 18, Charles Thomas, ball carrier.
That's unfortunate for Verbum Dei, because that's the biggest offensive play I think they've had all night. And it's going to, as you say, going to be called back.
Well, you know, I don't know. After both teams qualify for CIF, sometimes there's somewhat of a letdown. But I really didn't expect too much of a letdown from Cabrillo, simply because they had just won the Los Padres League. And even though it was a disappointing loss to Lompoc, I felt they'd really be fired up for this one and not make so many mental errors. But so far now, Cabrillo has not played as finely tuned football as they have over the last 9 games. Now they've got a little bit of a dip-de-doo here now. They've got plenty of wide receivers. They've got a little bit of a shotgun formation. Number 18 in the flat is wide open, and they got the ball to him.
So this is something that I think that both teams are going to have to do. They're going to open the game up. It brings up a 4th down, and I'm going to tell you, Dave, and I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think that Verbum Dei thus far in the ball game has shown as much as teams that, like St. Joseph, that Cabrillo played Santa Maria, where they were more successful against a team.
It's a nice punt. Now they can feel that one if they can get around the corner. I'll tell you, they had everything going for him. He just couldn't quite get to the sideline. Well, Ernie, I'll tell you the way I feel about it is I agree with you. The thing that Verbum Dei has really not been able to capitalize on the few errors that Cabrillo has made. And the second big factor is that they seem to be a little bit on the unorganized side. You know, one of the big things as a coach is if you can get the guys on and off the field and have 11 on there all the time, that's a big plus in high school football.
Well, it certainly is. But on the other side of the coin, Cabrillo hasn't been able to take advantage of that.
Wide slot left, divide. Fitz Wilson, quarterback sneak, gets into the secondary. Picks up a good, healthy 15 yards. And that's one of the reasons that Fitz Wilson has been the quarterback all year.
Now, looking at that play, there's no doubt in my mind that was the play that was called, the last play that was called on 4th down the last time. And I think Coach Radford wanted to come back and see if it, in fact, can be run against this ball club.
We're at the 45-yard line, wide slot left, divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback. Gives a quick dive on the left side to Kenny Walton, and he only picks up about a yard. As far as we know, neither team have had any injuries this week. Both teams are healthy. Verbum Dei has been shuffling a lot of people out, in and out on defense. There's the option, but I'll tell you, they have a man over there. Number 20 is just as wide open as can be, Thomas Archie. There's no one trying to block him. I don't think we can run that play to that side as long as we have Archie standing out there by himself.
Well, this is true, and as you say, Archie stopped that play each time that they run it, and he's an outstanding one-on-one tackler.
Well, we have a 3rd and long. It's 3rd and about 13 yards. Got the wide side of the field over here. Got a slot right, divide. Fitzwilson seems to be calling something, possibly an automatic. There's a sprint out option. Oh, we have... Well, I'll tell you what, that might be the best catch of the night. I can't quite figure out who it is down there, but looks like Don I see now, he's got his back to us, Don McIntyre.
One of the better wide receivers at Cabrillo.
Yes, he was one of the famous from the Dakotas.
Good pass by Wilson.
Had a beautiful receiver open in the middle of the field. That's a shame. Fitz just either saw him too late, and frankly, I think he threw the ball away.
Beginning to rain here a little bit now, Dave, and we'll see how much effect this has on the ball team.
John Roberts punts the ball away. Pretty nice punt now. But I'll tell you what, we were on him, but there's a flag back. I'll tell you, that's going to be a big, big break. Roughing the kicker.
Also, there was a fumble, so it's going to be, we're going to have to wait and see what Cabrillo, well, they call the roughing the punter, and that's what is going to be the call. They're going to bring it back, which would nullify the fumble.
Well, I swore up and down it wasn't going to rain tonight, and it's obvious I made a mistake. You know, one thing about playing on Friday night, I know that there's going to be another football game here tomorrow night, but this field could easily be in a little poor shape tomorrow now with 2 games back-to-back. They got into the wishbone again and gave to their fullback. It was a nice gain. It'll be 2nd and about 6.
And someone else that better get in this ball game, Dave, is you and I, because they did allow the fumble. Cabrillo refused the penalty and took the ball at the fumble, and the ball now deep into at the 24-yard line of Verbum Dei.
Well, that's a big break for us.
2nd and 7.
We're still in the wishbone, very tight. Fitzwilson, the quarterback, hand off to Rod Davis for about 2.
21, Rod Davis, the ball carrier, stopped by 56, Kurt Ridley. Gain of 2 on the play.
We've got the wide side of the field over here, and it's fun to second guess. I think they're going to, as good a job as Verbum Dei has done the last few plays, we may see something over here in the flat. The wishbone. Fitz has got plenty of room, throws to Scott Duncan, but it's short and behind him.
Wilson pass incomplete and intended for number 85, Scott Duncan.
It was a nice little bootleg and excellent call, just a little short.
Good call, just not a very well thrown ball, and Sullivan on the field now to try his 2nd field goal of the night, and this will be about
38 yards.
38 yards, yeah. Well, actually, it's his first one because Wilson came up and threw the first one.
Very short. Fitz slipped. Ball will be brought out to the 20. We've been down there several times and haven't been able to get it in.
Well, 3:45 left to go in the first half. The crowd now a little edgy, Dave. They seem to think that maybe Cabrillo could be doing a little better against this ball club than they're doing.
Well, at this particular time, they've got the umbrellas over their head, so it's hard for me to tell. But I'll tell you what, I think they're wanting to open the game up a little bit. Pro right, I. Quarterback rolls out. Beautiful pass. Number 4, Aubrey Smith, 5'8", 150-pound senior.
Well, a good route that time by Smith. They isolated him on the linebacker Duncan. Smith, a wide receiver, and it's going to be hard for Duncan to keep up with him, I think.
They have a wing right, I. Quarterback rolls out again, throws the ball to number 20, Thomas Archie.
And another
Verbum Dei can obviously throw and catch the football.
Yeah, another good play that time. A good a gain for them. They about a 5 or 6 yard gain. And as I thought they would do early in the ball game, now they are testing that defense, that defensive secondary of the Conquistadors.
Pro right eye. Very, very close to being, well, it was knocked down, probably defected by Vincent Flowers. I'll tell you, if he had picked that one off, it had been all the way to the racetrack.
Well, it was Mike Marcelli. And Dave, I tell you, Mike Marcelli is probably the best defensive back that Cabrillo has had in quite a while. He's a physical ball player.
Well, Ernie, you're right. It is Mike Marcelli, number 20. And you're right. He's big, he's strong, and we've seen him take and really deliver some real punches to some people in the secondary.
Oh, yeah.
He's rangy. He's got good height. I think he's a real prospect.
I think he is, too. He's a good college prospect, I think.
Oh, we've got a pro left eye. Quarterback sprints out. He looks back and throws it back across the field. The ball's been intercepted by number 12. Has a little bit of running room there.
That was Brian
Grant.
And he sits back, and he's just like a cat. He's like a buzzard. He sits back and he waits, and the ball off of someone's fingertips, and Grant right there to pick it off with 3:03 left to play in the half. And
I'll tell you, this might be the break we need. We've still got plenty of time. We've got a little over 3 minutes. The ball's on the 35-yard line in the middle of the field. I'll tell you, let's either get a touchdown or get in there where we can kick that ball, because we can kick it. Wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson. Hands a little trap to Rod Davis. He's into the secondary. Beautiful play down to the 20-yard line. I'll tell you, at this point, it's just a matter of them toughening up and not making any middle errors.
Well, that's it. They can't make a mistake here. Good play that time by defensively by number 4 of Verbum Dei, because had he not stopped Rod Davis, he was going to go into that end zone.
Well, this is the area the coaches call the pride zone, Ernie. Now, you know what that is. They don't make middle errors. Well, they've got plenty of time. If they can keep from making middle errors, we can still score. Wide slot right, divide. Fitz hands off to Ken Walton. Ken's down to about the 7-yard line.
One thing about Kenny Walton, when you get in that pride zone, he will run with the football.
The pride zone is right there at this time, and they can taste it. They know they need to score. They played sloppy football this first half. They've given up the ball several times, have some very untimely situations happen to them. It's a matter for them now just to suck it up and get that ball into the end zone. Ball's on the 8-yard line, wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback. Fitz, quick pitch to Kenny Walton to the outside. He's going to walk in there, Kit. Good job. I'll tell you, that's a big break for us. They toughened up, didn't they?
2 minutes, 9 seconds left to play in the half, and as you say, Dave, it appears now that the offense has gotten it together. They've done everything right. That offensive line opening up holes and the backs running into those holes. That time, Kenny Walton going to the outside. He got a good block from a wide receiver whose number I didn't get, but he just threw a tremendous block over at about the 3-yard line to get him into that end zone.
Well, you know, that's a play that they used earlier in the game, but that time he walked in. Ken's got excellent speed. Mike Sullivan kicking the point after touchdown. The officials say it's good. With 2 minutes and 9 seconds, we go ahead 7-0.
And we'll be back with the kickoff after this.
Well, here we are with 2 minutes and 9 seconds left in the first half. Cabrillo's kicking off. They just finished a nice score. Took advantage of Verbum Dei's mistakes. Grant kicks the ball, number 12. A nice little squib down to the 20-yard line. It's picked up. Cabrillo's right there. They're fired up. I hope they can bring it into the second half.
So it'll be 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line for Verbum Dei, and we'll be back with the remaining 2 minutes and 7 seconds of the first half after this.
We've got a wide, we've got a pro right, motion right. Quarterback hands to the tailback for about 3 yards. It's going to be second and pretty long 7.
Good recovery that time on the part of the defense for Cabrillo, because there was a hole there and filled very quickly, again by J.J. Morris, as he came off of a block to make that tackle.
Got a wing right. Quarterback sprint out right. Throws the ball to number 20's in open field. Hey, Verbum Dei can throw and catch the football. Number 20's been giving him fits all night. Tom Archie.
Making the stop. And 11-yard pass play by the Eagles, 1st and 10.
You know, if Verbum Dei could keep up that consistency, I think that they're going to give Cabrillo a real tough time the second half now, because they're going to go in after the first half thinking they can throw the ball. This number 20 right in the middle of the field is open again.
And nobody apparently even covering him, as Vincent Flowers was looking downfield, and Brantley and number 44 were short of him. So had they been able to throw that ball in there, it would have been no one there to cover the pass. It's just that the quarterback didn't see him.
Exactly. They're running the wide receiver into the middle of the defense and a nice wide sweep, and he's sort of in the hook zone there, and he sort of floats. And the quarterback is sprinting out, and he's looking for either the man in the flat or that number 20 in the middle, and no one has been on him the last 2 or 3 plays. Well, that's going to be Verbum Dei's downfall. They seem to be at times confused.
They do. We got 56 seconds left to play in the first half, and I would venture to say, Dave, now that although he's a good football player and we've given him some accolades early in the ballgame, that's probably Mike Marcelli's man that's running, because he's a strong safety to that side. And he plays he plays a tight end if they're in a man, but it appeared that time they were in a zone, and I think he had that short hook zone.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a tough area to cover, especially when you're sprinting to an area and you've got a receiver coming from the outside curling over the middle. They fake the ball to the fullback. Quarterback throws into the flat. Nice play. Very nice defensive play.
That was Vincent Flowers that made the play on the ball. And as you say, that was a good play. People on the other side, they kind of booed a little bit. But it was a good play. When that ball's in there, he has as much right to it as the receiver that the ball is being thrown to, and he just played the ball well.
Absolutely. He went right through his head to the ball, knocked the ball down. It was a good play. Very nice play. Well, we've got a little hoop-de-doo here now. This is a good defensive or offensive formation. Have a little motion. Got a shotgun formation. The quarterback's rolling out. Throws into the flat. Beautiful catch.
They say he didn't make it. They say he didn't catch the ball.
I'll tell you, they're in a better position than we are, but it sure looked good from here.
It was the umpire that came all the way across the field and said no, as the field judge stood and actually marked the ball, but it was the umpire that came across, and apparently from his vantage point, he could see that the ball was dropped.
Well, they may have a penalty here now, Ernie. The official may have spotted the ball where the point had been received. Now, it's possible that we heard the whistle and the flag. Looks like there is going to be some kind of major foul on Cabrillo, because they've just marched off 15 yards.
Yeah.
With 40 seconds left, the ball's on the 47-yard line.
Roughing the pass is the call. He had plenty of time to throw that ball that time, though, Dave, which means that offensive line of Verbum Dei blocking relatively well on these pass plays.
Well, Verbum Dei, right now, late in this half, has done a nice job. They've got motion by number 20. Quarterback sprints out. Number 20's in the flat. I'll tell you, Cabrillo's going to have to make some real adjustment at halftime. They're going to talk about that one, Ernie.
Well, I think what they're going to have to do is come back and do something that I think should be done a lot in high school football, and play some man defense in that secondary. The zones, it just appears that high school people are not able to react to those zones as well probably as more mature football players. And I think that if they come back and play some man defense against them, then they put somebody right on him, then that'll shut that down. But with 28 seconds left to play here in the first half, the score, Cabrillo 7, Verbum Dei 0. We'll be back after this. 28 seconds left to play in the first half. It's Verbum Dei's ball, second and about 5 at the 48-yard line of Cabrillo.
I'll tell you, Ernie, he was there.
The only reason he kept that from being successful was he didn't catch the football.
That's exactly it. It was a little bit short.
He was there. That ball was there. Come on, Dave. He could have caught that football.
Should have. We'd have said that was a player adjustment. He should have adjusted to the football.
He should have caught that football. Yeah.
I think every receiver would like to have it right between his numbers each time, but sometimes that's a little bit tougher to do than it looks.
Well, I'm sure that young man would like to have that pass thrown to him 5 more times.
23 seconds. Score is 7-0 Conquistadors. Motion left. Quarterback turns and gives it to the tailback for about 3 yards.
Well, I've got a message to send to anybody that plays Cabrillo from here on in after playing Lompoc last week. The draw is not going to work.
Well, they've talked about the draw. Okay, we have a pro right. Divide. Quick pitch to number 18. Picks up about 4 yards. Well, I think with 5 seconds left, there may be one little oop-to-you pass down the field, but it's going to be a desperation. But we scored with less last week.
Yeah, Verbum Dei is not out of this ball game. Score 7-0 here with 5 seconds left to go in the first half. And it'll be 1st and 10 from the 37-yard line of Cabrillo.
Well, it started sprinkling here at Houck Stadium, but it's settled down a little bit. We might not get any rain the rest of the night. We're in the shotgun again. 3 wide receivers to the right, motion left. Quarterback drops back. Long pass down the field to number 7. Now there was one that hit him right in the numbers.
Intended for number 7, Anthony Grove.
And Ernie, we're going to go in. There's a flag on the play.
And I tell you, Coach Bob Radford's upset. I'm sure it's going to be roughing the pass. And Coach Bob Radford threw his clipboard almost to center of the field. He went out and retrieved it, though. And
well, Coach Radford's a pretty even-tempered kind of a guy. Steve Smith just went into the ball game, 194 pound, 6 feet tall, and a junior. I'll tell you, he's talking to Kurt Clemens right now. Do you think that might have been who roughed the quarterback a little?
I don't think I know that's who it was.
Well, that puts it in a little different situation. There is no time on the clock.
Well, he's still talking to Clemens.
Yes, I'm sure he might add a little something to say about this. Now, this is the same situation we had last week, and we scored. Now, I'll tell you, we're in our prevent defense. We've got people all over. The whole idea is to just keep the ball in front. We had receivers downfield, and the half is over with.
So the score at the end of the first half, Cabrillo 7, Verbum Dei 0, and Dave, to be perfectly honest with you, from what we've seen out here, this should be probably a 21 or 28-point ball game.
Well, we've had our chances to score. There's no question about that. Actually, we've moved the ball at times, and we come up with some real nice plays early in the first half. Had some real nice trap plays for big gains. Since then, we really haven't been able to open it up much, and other than the sustained drive from about the 30-yard line in for the score, that's about the most consistency we've had all night.
Well, I think Coach Radford, when he goes in the locker room, I don't think he is really happy with the way Cabrillo played here in the first half, and I think he realizes they're fortunate to be ahead. And Verbum Dei, as we have said, not really a very good football team, but they have hung into this ball game, and I still have a good opportunity to give Cabrillo a good football game here in the second half.
Well, I agree with you. They're going to go in there and shake them up a little bit and talk real good, strong high school football coaching talk to them. And when they come back, I think they'll be fired up.
So we'll be back with the halftime show in just a minute.
Well, so far we've had an exciting game, and one of the reasons that the Cabrillo fans all year have been excited about their football team is because of the pep squad. And one of the young ladies that has decided to be one of the spokespersons for Cabrillo is Ingrid Anderson. Ingrid, you girls have done a tremendous job all year keeping the spirit high at Cabrillo. All the athletes have appreciated the things you've done. Give me an idea or two of some of the things you do that the day of the game that sort of keep the athletes' momentum going as far as the coaches are concerned.
Well, during the afternoon, we deliver some kind of treats or little things, you know, just to keep their spirit up during their classes or whatever. And usually we have like a pep assembly or pep rally held at lunchtime or during like fourth period to get the students as well as all the football players.
Well, I know that these athletes have really appreciated all of the cheerleaders. We have one of the finest groups in our community and in Santa Barbara County. You girls work very hard. I know during the summer months you've had a chance to get together and go to camp. And at that particular camp, you had something really nice happen to you. Give us an idea of what that happening was.
Well, the last day we were there, we have awards day, and we get all awards and certificates that we earn throughout camp. And this year that they decided that they would pick 5 song leaders out of the whole squad or the whole camp, and there's hundreds of schools that go there, and the 5 top song leaders would have the opportunity to go to Hawaii.
And they picked you.
Yeah, I was one.
Well, one of the things that Ingrid mentioned is that the entire community has really gotten behind you. Of course, Lompoc is famous, the city of Lompoc is famous for helping all of their students. And I know that you've been very conscientious in working and earning money.
Oh, yeah.
And now would be an excellent time to thank the entire community.
I'd like to say thanks to, there's a lot of clubs out there that help me a lot and a lot of my friends, and I'm glad that my community is so involved with the schools and the students around, and I just want to say thanks.
Well, we couldn't have picked a finer representative, Ingrid. And one of the things that Ingrid wanted me to mention is that it has been raining and that there is a lot of water on her hair. So, Ingrid, congratulations on being selected to go to Honolulu, and we hope you have a tremendous time, and we know you'll represent us right to the very end. Thank you very much, Ingrid. At this particular time, I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming second half. I think the thing that you're going to expect from Cabrillo is that the coaches are going to realize that even though the field is a little bit wet, they're going to have to open the game up some. Coach Ernie Hutchison, and I've got to tell him, Coach, because I've worked with him a lot of years at Cabrillo High School in football, both of us agree that it seems that the flat area where they can deliver the ball in a short pass, even with a wet field, is probably the best bet against Verbum Dei. Defensively, Verbum Dei has been able to move the ball periodically, but they have not been able to keep up a sustained drive. And one of the reasons is they seem to be a little bit unorganized. They have a tough time getting the athletes on and off the field. They've had several motion calls and motion penalties. So between Cabrillo's making some adjustments this next week or this next half, and we know that they can throw the football, I think that they're going to come out and deliver the ball, short passes into the flat, and continue running that little trap play. The field has been reasonably good. It has not rained hard enough to particularly affect us at this point. I think that our kicking game has been affected a little bit. Mike Sullivan attempted a short field goal early in the half, about a 25-yarder. The field was sloppy enough to have him slip and fall down. But besides that, we've had excellent field position, and I think that the coaches generally are not real happy about the way the Conquistadors have played this first half. I hope and I think we're going to have a real change coming up in the second half, and we're going to deliver and throw the ball a little bit more. Well, Ernie, I'll tell you, we're starting the second half. We made a lot of predictions. We talked a little bit about what coaching change might take place. All I can say is that, and I've said it before, it's more fun to be up here, not very nervous, than down there calling those 3rd and 15 plays.
You think the Butterflies are rolling pretty good down there in them coaching staffs?
Last week, someone came up and said, Dave, don't you miss being down there in that field? And at that particular time, they were just about to call that 3rd and 15 before the half. And I said, no way.
Well, I tell you, I was down there, and it was the happiest I'd ever been down there because I had no decisions to make.
Well, Verbum Dei kicks off to Cabrillo. Ball is taken on the 20-yard line by Mark Marcelli, but he put a knee down on the 14-yard line. That's a bad break.
And I think that's the first indication we've seen of a poor feel out there. And Marcelli's right foot just slipped out from under him, and he had a little running room. And I'm sure that he's a little upset. He really is.
Well, it really is a good thing that we've had no more rain than we've had, because if we did, the middle of that field would be a little bit chewed up. It's a little spotty, but still in good shape. 1st and 10. Ball is on the 15-yard line. Cabrillo goes into a wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson, the quarterback. Fitz handles the same little trap play early in the first quarter now. They went right back to that the second half.
Well, they were successful with it, and well, they should, I think. The thing is that it's going to be interesting to see how Cabrillo is going to open this ball game up. They're leading by 7 points, but they're going to, I think, have to put more points on the board to win this ball game.
Well, see, Verbum Dei is pulling people in and out constantly. They don't seem to have any continuity to their offense or defense. They're making lots of mistakes. They may have one too many people on the field right now.
23, Kenny Walton, the ball carrier.
Well, if they did, they got away with it because nobody realized it but you.
Well, maybe not. I heard someone, number 3 over there, was trying to get him to run off the field. They're putting lots and lots of people in and out of this game defensively.
Well, they seem to be playing situation defenses, as you say.
It's possible that they have a pretty strong parent group. They want to get everyone in. Wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson runs the option to the right. Kenny Walton's just not able to elude that quarterman, number 20. Number 20, offensive and defensively, have been playing awfully good football. Tom Archie. He's been catching the ball on offense, and he's made some key plays on defense, Ernie.
Well, one thing we can say, Dave, and we should remember his name, because one thing about these kids from Verbum Dei, they don't seem to be a well-organized team, but when you listen to UCLA, USC, and some of those schools down there, you always hear a few of them from Verbum Dei, and I'm sure that Archie's going to be one of them.
Well, like you say, the first half, it's a good thing we weren't playing them in basketball or track, because they can run and they can jump. Wide slot right, counter option. Fitz Wilson turns upfield for a good short gain now. That might be a first down.
Well, no, he just got back to the line of scrimmage. That was
That's right,
a
he
long
sure
loss,
did.
yeah. I mean, to the original line of scrimmage. So it'll be 3rd down now at about 9.
Third and long, that's right. And I saw that flag over there, and I immediately thought we had the first down. I'm really into the game right now. Mike Deal has been running the plays into Fitz Wilson. The plays are called from the sidelines by Ed Knowles, possibly relayed by Bob Bradford, and then they're run in by runners from the sideline. Slot left. Fitz Wilson is a sprint out to pass. He looks back across the field, throwing to Scott Duncan for a nice reception.
And
it's going to be very, very close. I'll tell you, this will be interesting now. Rod Davis won a little swing route to the outside and over into the flat. They ran Scott Duncan across the middle. They threw the ball to him, but Rod Davis was really in the open.
And everybody followed Scott. But
that's right.
One thing I can say about Scott Duncan, he, like Fitzgerald Wilson, they know where they are on that football field all the time. He knew exactly what he needed for the first down, and he went and got it.
Well, he's big and strong, and there's some college people looking at him right now, Ernie. Slot right, divide. Fitz fakes the ball, pitches to Ken Walton. He's got a little bit of running room, but number 20 right there. Tom Archie's having quite a football game.
He is. He really is.
It'll be 2nd and 9. Ball's on the 37-yard line. That's a good passing down right
I was just getting ready to say, Dave, I look for them to throw the ball and maybe try to hit one of the wide receivers, either Sullivan or Morgan. They got them both in there, and those are 2 young fellas that can catch that football.
Got a pro left, divide. Fitz Wilson fakes, gives the ball to Rod into the secondary. Rod Davis scrambling, gets the first down. You know, Rod Davis has been a part of sports and football all 4 years at Cabrillo, and yet this is the first year that he's really shined. He had a tremendously bad break as a sophomore and was hurt, didn't play as a junior, and came out this year and has done a nice job.
Yes, he has. And, of course, had he played last year, of course, he would have been overshadowed, I think, a little bit. But he's certainly showing that he's a good football player.
Fitz gives the ball to Kenny Walton. They're sort of trading off right now. That's good for about 4 yards. 2nd and 6. You know, I was going to mention earlier the interior linemen. I think the 3 interior people, Miranda, Soik, and Johnson, have all done a good job now and are doing a good job right now with that little trap play, and consistent all year. Twin left, divide. Quick pitch to Rod Davis. Sweeps, gets stopped, fumble on the play. Let's see whose ball it is. I'll tell you, they're signaling Verbum Dei. If it wasn't for bad luck, we wouldn't have any luck at all.
That's true, and Davis is not one that's known to fumble a football. He's a pretty...
Been real consistent. Ed Knowles has talked about that. When it comes time to get that 1 or 2 yards, especially down in scoring area, they've been real consistent about giving the ball to him.
It's kind of like seeing John Riggins fumble.
Verbum Dei running an option to the left. Pitches the ball. They picked up about 5. You know, Rod Davis reminds me a little bit of a running back we had a few years ago by the name of Bob Reynolds. Rod has built very similar, has good power. He doesn't quite have the breakaway speed that Bobby did, but he's been consistent all year.
Well, I think that's the difference in the two of them, is that Bobby, once he got in the open field, he did have a little breakaway speed.
Pro right, I gives to the fullback into the secondary. That's a big gainer. Now they're getting their backs to the wall now, Ernie. Ball's on the 32-yard line.
Well, that
Ken Smith carried the ball.
That time, J.J. Morris ran himself right out of the play. I don't know. Apparently, he read pass because he went after the quarterback even after it was obvious the handoff had been made, and they ran right past him.
Wing left, split left, I. Motion right. Quarterback gives the ball into the secondary. We're in trouble here now. Ball's on the 15-yard line.
Now the same thing happened to the other side. This time it was Tower Davis and number 34 Brantley that ran themselves right out of the play. And when I say ran themselves out of the play, they're following the quarterback and they think he's going to pitch, and he's handing off to the fullback, and he's running right by them.
Well, you know, we talked earlier about the pride zone. This is the pride zone for the defense, too. They can't afford to make a mistake. They've got their backs to the goal line. They're going to tighten up. Motion right. Quarterback gives the ball on the handoff. They picked up about, what, 4, 3?
About 4. This is a good drive by Verbum Dei after the turnover.
It'll be 2nd and about 7. Split left, I. Give the ball to the tailback. There's a fumble. Ball is recovered. There's a big break. That's the pride zone, Ernie, we talked about.
And that is definitely what Cabrillo needed, because Verbum Dei, Mo had switched to their side, and they were moving that ball relatively well against that defense of Cabrillo.
Well, there's a happy guy, number 34, Terry Brantley, come up with a big play. You know, we talked about that. The pride zone is good for the offense and defense. That time, I think the offense broke down, and they just didn't quite get mentally prepared. Slot right, divide. Fitz-Wilson gives the ball. Stacked up in the middle by the entire Verbum Dei defense.
I think now, Dave, that Cabrillo is going to have to break something to the outside. Verbum Dei is stacking that inside up pretty well, or they did on the last play. And I think Cabrillo now is going to have to go outside and loosen that defense up some.
Well, you know, Ed Knowles calling the plays usually has a reason for doing things, and I'm sure that he's going to hear this broadcast and say, listen, this is the reason we didn't do this or did do this. We need something.
Yeah.
We need something offensively. We haven't quite been able to get the spark necessary to get the big play. We've been getting into the secondary periodically, but frankly, we've not been consistent on our drives, with the exception of the touchdown just before the half.
Now, something that I haven't seen before, we have Grant in now, who is a quarterback, as a running back for Cabrillo.
Well, that could be set up, maybe a play pass. There's the play, quick kick. I'll tell you, that's a new twist for us, isn't it?
Not a bad play because momentum has certainly switched to Verbum Dei. Cabrillo deep in their secondary, and we needed to get them out from there.
Well, I know that the kicking and the punting game has not been exactly what they wanted all year, and they may have put that play in simply because to catch the defense off guard, try to get the ball downfield. It wasn't as good a punt as a quick kick as we would have liked to have had, but they didn't get it returned.
No.
Wing left, giving the ball a little cross action to the tailback. He breaks into the secondary, down to the 27-yard line. So far, it's been Verbum Dei's second half, Ernie.
3:57 left to go in the third quarter. Cabrillo ahead 7-0. And as you say, Dave, Verbum Dei has come back here after the half, and they're running out football.
Okay, here we go. Pro right, I. Motion left. Give the ball to the fullback.
He fumbled the
Everybody's
ball.
yelling and screaming. First, I'll tell you, looking around and an acorn pops up in your hands, doesn't it?
Well, I tell you what, Scott Duncan put a lick on that fullback that time, and Marcelli right there to catch the football when he coughed it up. Another unfortunate break for Verbum Dei, because here in the second half, they have certainly been moving that football against Cabrillo. And on the other hand, Cabrillo's offense seemed to have bogged down a bit.
Well, after seeing these films, they're going to jump up and kick themselves because they have lost many opportunities for scoring here. A wide slot right, divide, option to the right, pitch out to Kenny Walton, picks up about 7. That's a good first play.
Now, Dave, I'm going to make a comment here, and I want you to be very candid with me. It just doesn't appear to me that Walton is running tonight like we have seen him run in the past.
Well, I have not had an opportunity to be in the position I am to see them consistently. I think that Rod Davis is much more of a power runner. Ken Walton seems to be much quicker, but isn't exploding at that moment of impact. I'd like to see a little bit more explosion just as he's tackled. There's a flag on the play. Usually that indicates motion of some kind. To be candid with you, I don't think it's possible for a back to run too hard, and I think when we as coaches or our spectators look from this angle, we say, gee, I'd like to have him hit there a little harder. I'd like to have him dodge a little bit more.
Do you think maybe it's the field condition? He doesn't want to fall down, or he doesn't want to...
Well, it's possible that the field is much slicker. From this position, it looks reasonably dry. And yet, once you get down there and you're having to cut, many times you're a little bit timid, and it looks like you're not driving in there at that last moment. But it's going to be tough to tell. I really don't know. Well, we've got 2 minutes and 18 seconds left in the third quarter. The score is 7-0, and Cabrillo has the ball. Second and about 8. Fitz fades back, pitches the ball to Scott Duncan. Beautiful little drag route. He came from this side, came across. That's the second time now that pass pattern has been open.
Well, Kenny Walton doesn't stay back and block. He comes right out, and he clears that middle out for Scott. Scott comes from the left side, as you say, drags right across, and Walton has cleared that area out, and it has been successful the times that Wilson has been able to throw the ball to the receiver.
Well, I look for something to shake them up a little bit now. I think they've thrown enough short passes where they're liable to hit something a little bit deeper. There's Fitz Wilson on the quarterback sneak. Good for another 8 yards. I wonder if that is an automatic. You know, a few years ago we had key words that would permit the quarterback to call that play when he saw a change in the defense. Sometimes those guards or those middle people will shift out a little bit, and the quarterback will see it, and he'll change the play at the line of scrimmage. Fitz is the kind of quarterback that definitely has the ability to make that kind of call.
Well, I think you could have confidence in giving him permission to do that.
Have a pro left, divide. I'll tell you, they've got the kitchen sink up on the line of scrimmage. They got 4 linebackers. There's the sprint out. He is there. If he can, oh my goodness, the ball slipped out of his hands. We had a receiver deep over here into the secondary. Fitz has had better nights.
Yes, he has. You mentioned at halftime, it may be that he may be ailing just a little bit. He just doesn't seem to be the Fitzgerald Wilson that we saw play, say, against Atascadero or against Santa Maria or even against Lompoc last year.
Had a great half against Lompoc. It's early in the night. We've still got a full quarter to go. The Cabrillo fans are happy because we're ahead by 7. Fitz turns. It's slippery out there now. That's all there is there. Rod Davis receives it. Now, he's not afraid to fly in there now.
Oh, no. He'll throw a head
I'm telling you now. He looked like 2 Dodge Rams in the woods, didn't it?
He'll throw a head in there for you now. A good gain that time, bringing up a 4th down with a yard to go in the ball at the 45-yard line. And we will see Cabrillo more than likely go into their wishbone defense, but we won't see it here because that's the end of the 3rd quarter. So at the end of the 3rd quarter with the score, Cabrillo 7, Verbum Dei 0. We'll be back after this. 12 minutes of football left to play, ladies and gentlemen, here at Houck Stadium. Cabrillo leading 7-0 over Verbum Dei. It's Cabrillo's ball, 4th and 1 at their own 45-yard line. And Dave, 2 teams going through the motions, really.
Well, I think that you've got a situation where they've come into CIF at this point. Lompoc possibly being a little bit down and disappointed with their loss last week. But the thing about this group is they know what a tremendous opportunity they have. They're rated number 2. They're on the side of the bracket with Lompoc away from them, Atascadero away from them, and Canyon away from them. The side of their bracket, if they can get through and win 1 or 2 games now and get a little momentum going and confidence, the kind of confidence they had after the Atascadero game, I'll guarantee you they believe they can win the entire shooting match, the whole CIF.
Early in the season, I talked with Coach Radford, and I asked him, I said, after they had won the first couple of ball games, I said, is your team that good? And he said the kids think they are, and I think that means a lot. I'm asking now, do the kids still think they're that good?
Yes, I really do. I think that you have a disappointment in a big crosstown rival, that game of that type. Here it is, 4th and short. They're going for a big one right here. They get now there's a gutsy call. 2 different situations in this game. Bob Radford is gone. And I'll guarantee you he's the one that's responsible here now. Ed Knowles is calling the plays, and the consistency and the continuity of play calling is his. But Bob Radford has a lot to do with plays like that now, and he's the one that's been gutsy enough to call those. I'm glad they didn't give the ball back to Verbum Dei because they're doing a few things now this second half. Wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson's under the center. Gives the ball into the secondary. Rod Davis breaking away. He's to the 30, to the 20, to the 18-yard line. I got excited going the wrong way. That's the first big play we've had all week. Seems like a week, doesn't it?
It has, and as you say, it was. And he bounced off of 2 tackles. 2 people had an opportunity to stop him, and he broke off of both of those, ran away from 1 tackle and broke away from another one. So it'll be the Conquistadors' ball now, 1st and 10 from the 19-yard line of Verbum Dei, and that's the first spark we've had from Cabrillo in the second half.
Yes, it is. The crowd is up and they're yelling. Wide slot right, divide. Quick pitch to the left. Kenny Walton gains about 3. You know, if Rod Davis had that 10 flat speed or that 9.9 sprinter speed, he'd have still been running.
Oh, yeah. Well, the guy that came and got him was the one that has been playing just outstanding defense for Verbum Dei all night, number 20. And apparently he has that kind of speed. He has that catch-up speed because he showed it there.
Well, Rod Davis is a little bit of a sandblaster. He's built low to the ground now.
2nd and 7.
Second down, a long 7, wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson fades to the right. Got a little bit of running area. Little quick short pitch, but just too low and out of the hands of Rod Davis.
Now there, Dave, is what I was alluding to earlier. That's a pass that Fitzgerald doesn't miss. And we've seen him try it now 3 or 4 times tonight. He hasn't hit on it yet. Yet it's a play that's very consistent with him in previous ball games.
There's no question that he's not having one of his better nights. Fortunately, Verbum Dei has permitted us. They've been very forgiving at this point. Gives the ball to Ken Walton. He's going to be down to the 3-yard line. Ken broke through quick now. He had good quickness at that time, got into the secondary.
Well, I tell you, 62 Soik and 65 McClanahan, I think it is. They sealed that left side, and he had some running room on that left side that time.
That's been a big play for him all night. They get into their tight wishbone. Everyone's tight. Guards, tackles, and ends. Gives the ball to Rod Davis. I'll tell you, this is where it gets tight, and they're going to start giving the ball to the fellas that make the fewest mistakes. It's a cliche term with the coaches, but you find your best blocker, you give him to your best ball carrier, and you tell him to put his head down and go. Fortunately, they can go both ways. The quickness of Ken Walton and the power and the determination of Rod Davis.
I look for him to give it to Edgecombe this time, the fullback.
And Fitzwilson pops it into the middle, but he scored. That ball just has to break the plane, and the officials saw it. It was a touchdown.
A good call that time, and it shows why you and I are up here.
You're not a kid. And I'm glad we are, too,
Yes,
Ernie.
I am, too.
It's more fun to stay up here and call these games and watch. We've got the best seat in the house and second-guess the coaches.
10 minutes, 6 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo now goes on top 13-0. And it will be Sullivan trying for his second extra point of the night.
Now the percentages to kick. Well, there was a fumble or a bobble of some kind. I'll tell you, that was just a bobbled handoff. Fitzwilson picked the ball up, scrambled a little bit. Fitz is going to say to himself, you know, I'm glad this game's over. Let's get on to next week.
Bobble handoff by Fitzgerald Wilson. Poor reaction, I thought, on that time by Pyro. When that ball is fumbled, they have a signal that they call, and Pyro was just a little late getting out of there, because even with all of the confusion, had he been alert, I think he could have caught the ball and fallen into the end zone. At any rate, the score 13-0 with 10-6 left to play in the ball game, and we'll be back with a kickoff after this. 1 minute, 6 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo leads 13-0 after the 1-yard run by Fitzgerald Wilson, and it will be Brian Grant kicking off to Verbum Dei.
They had a squib the last time. He's going to keep it on the ground and squib it across the field. Number 82 receives the ball, puts his head down, but tackled immediately on the 36-yard line.
So Verbum Dei will take over. 1st and 10 to go from their own 36-yard line, with 10 minutes exactly left to play in the ball game and the clock running. So Cabrillo now, defense, will have to rise to the occasion, because I'm sure Verbum Dei is going to come out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them start throwing the ball.
That's where they've had their best luck, and especially with the swing route, number 20 coming over the middle. Quarterback fakes the option, pitches, there's a fumble, bobbling the ball. Number 40, is that Flowers?
Yeah, it was 48 Flowers on the tackle. And it's 18, number 18,
Charles Thomas.
And I think that's about his 3rd fumble tonight. So Thomas not having a very good ball game offensively. He, like Fitzgerald Wilson, probably going to look at these films, and they're going to come back to haunt him.
You know, I think the thing that these coaches, the Cabrillo coaches, are going to say to their team, you know, we've played a lot of good football and been consistent over 10 games. Possibly a sign of a good team is one who plays poorly and can still win. So maybe if we get over this game and get our stuff together, it's just a matter of circumstances that we didn't really play too well tonight. You know, Verbum Dei's had a series of formations that I would have liked to have seen from a helicopter just above, because they're certainly located in various spots with unusual offensive sets.
I look for them to run from that set they had just then.
Well, here it goes again now. They've got, I'm not sure exactly other than just call it a shotgun. They've got a man over the middle, a man in the flat. The official says, no good.
Pass incomplete. Intended for number 4, Aubrey Smith.
4th and long. A long 15 yards.
Down for the Eagles from their own 31. 4th and 15.
It's a nice high punt. Signaled for a fair catch by Ken Walton. He bobbles the ball, but it looks like he's received, fell on his own fumble.
Now, one thing I saw that Cabrillo is doing defensively, they have a lot of confidence in Brantley, who is a defensive end, because when they set the tight end wide, they sent Brantley, a defensive end, out to play him one-on-one, and they've done it consistently all year, and he's done a good job.
Well, I think they're going to expect really nice things from Terry Brantley for next year, because he is strong and powerful. Wide slot left, divide. Fumble, ball is picked up. I'll tell you what, there's all she wrote right there now, and that's a break for Verbum Dei and a bad situation for Cabrillo. We've had our share of fumbles tonight, and they just took advantage of a big mistake on our part.
So with 8:17 left to play in the ball game, Verbum Dei gets on the scoreboard. The score now 13-6. And Dave, you know, lackadaisical is a word that we don't like to use, but Fitzgerald Wilson and Brantley and Walton stood right there and looked at that ball, and I don't think either one of them knew that the ball had been fumbled.
I'll bet that's pointed out in the film tomorrow. You know, the first thing is when you drop that ball, no matter what you do, if you bump into people, it's better than doing nothing. So they're going to look at the films and evaluate that. Flag goes up. Kick may be good, but it doesn't look like they're going to allow that one at all.
The penalty is going to be against Cabrillo because Verbum Dei is clapping their hands.
Outside against the Conquistadors.
I'll tell you, this sort of paints a little different picture, doesn't it?
Well, they're making a ball game hard for them that really shouldn't be. Even if they go on and win this ball game, Cabrillo has made a ball game out of it.
Well, they certainly have. That one was as an example of, so far it's just been too many fumbles in very key situations. You know, Hal Chauncey once said, Hal Chauncey was a great coach from the city of Hawthorne. He said, you know, when it gets wet like this, always think about the old thumbtack trick. And so right now we need some thumbtacks on those hands to keep that ball from slipping out. Well, that's going to help us a little bit. Score is going to be 13-6.
So with 8:17 left to go in the ball game, Cabrillo leads now 13-6, and we'll be back after this. 8 minutes, 17 seconds left to play in the ball game. Cabrillo leads 13-6 after the 22-yard fumble recovery by the Verbum Dei Ball Club. And Dave, momentum again has swung towards Verbum Dei.
This is what happened last week. The momentum started towards Lompoc in the start of the fourth quarter, and Cabrillo, for some reason, didn't just sort of pick themselves up. I know they're fighters. I know they play hard, but now we've got to break that momentum. We've got to take the ball. We've got to keep from fumbling it and march the ball down and score. Possibly onside kick here now, you know. They might not want to turn that ball back over to Cabrillo, but they're going to. They're kicking deep down to the 10-yard line. And right now, Verbum Dei's jacked up, but he breaks into the secondary. Mike Marcelli, he's big and strong, and I'll tell you, they hit him 3 or 4 times, and he brought the ball back to the 50.
Well, I tell you what, he's big, he's strong, and he's sure-handed, and Mike Marcelli's a football player.
Yes, he is. That was a real good second effort and a big break for us. The momentum has got to change right here.
We saw him run one back against St. Joseph.
Well, it started to rain again. The umbrellas have come out. You can see in the stands it's not necessarily black and gold. It's red, it's blue, it's pink. Slot right, divide. Ball is handed off to Rod Davis, good for about 3 yards. I'll tell you, the great thing about living in Lompoc is you've got a nice high school stadium, you've got lots of activities, and you never know what's going to happen with the weather.
Well, that's true, and all you have to do is wait around about 3 minutes, and if you don't like the weather, it'll change for you.
That's exactly it. It changes by the hour. We've got a wide slot right, divide. Fitz Wilson under the center. Fitz gives to Ken Walton for about 4 yards. Now, he was running that time now, Ernie.
Well, he heard what we said.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got a speaker in that helmet, and he knows that we were kind of commenting on the fact that he wasn't running hard.
Well,
he ran hard that time.
I'll bet if he didn't hear, those coaches knew, and they might have said something to him. Real nice job by Ken Walton. Picked up that little extra yard that we need. Good for the first down. The ball's in the middle of the field on the 37-yard line.
They're going to run some time off the clock. They got that wishbone formation in there now. They want to run some time off the clock.
Well, they've had enough fumbles where they don't want another one.
Brantley.
Terry Brantley's into the football game right now. They gave him the ball. He was good for about 3 yards. I'll tell you, he's got legs like telephone poles. He should be able to run.
Well, he and Edgecombe at fullback there for the Conquistadors in that wishbone, and both of them just better than average blockers, and they open it up a little bit, and they keep Marcelli in there on that wishbone. He'll run the football for them.
Ball's given to Rod Davis. He breaks through. Looks like he was just barely hanging on to the ball right there now. That was close to being a fumble.
I thought he had fumbled it, and so did one of the players for Verbum Dei.
You know, it might be raining harder on that field than it is up here.
I was just looking, but now it looks up here. As you said that, just before you said that, I looked out there and you could hardly see down deep, but now it looks like it has stopped completely down there. So the weather, as you say, I'm sure that it can be antagonizing to a ball player.
Well, they're keeping the ball plenty dry, but even then, when you're on the ground, the grass is wet and moist. Sometimes that leather ball gets pretty slick. They call it a pigskin. Pitch to Rod Davis, turns upfield. Slips, though. I'll tell you, that turf is just not very solid.
But I tell you, though, Dave, this is the way football should be played. You know, they're dirty. There's a little blood out there and a little mud, and I don't like that AstroTurf.
Well, you know, I've never played on it. I was so old they didn't even have AstroTurf when I was playing.
Well, I'm older than you.
AstroTurf was something that you put on the welcome mat just in front of your door.
That's right. But this is the way the game should be played. And you get a little mud out there, a little dirt.
Well, it's fourth, yeah, fourth and about 4. You go into spread punt. Kick that ball nice and high and just put it on about the 2-yard line. A little bit too long. That gummit. I'll tell you, when you want to shorten that leg up, they don't. When you want to kick it hard, they don't.
Probably the longest ball Roberts has kicked all year.
Well, Verbum Dei brings it out to the 20-yard line, 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Score is 13-6 in favor of Cabrillo, and it's been a little bit of a sloppy football game.
It has, and this ball game isn't over. Verbum Dei still in the ball game with 4:59 left to play.
Pro right, eye. Ball snapped, gives to the fullback, very short, maybe 1.5 yards.
Tackled by the Conquistadors, Terry Brantley. Gain of 1, 2nd and 9 to 21.
You know, sometimes there's just matchup in football games that makes both teams look not so strong, not so good. And it's obvious Verbum Dei's got some people that can run with the football. They've got big, strong people, but neither team has played very good tonight.
No, they haven't.
Right there we got in.
Number 18, the ball.
Terry Brantley heard you.
35, Tower.
Oh, it's Tower Davis.
Tawa Davis. Tawa Davis has had quite a season. He's been quite a good athlete in the last year or so, both as a freshman, a sophomore, and now as a junior. He's got lots of potential for Cabrillo.
Yes, he has.
He's a good football player. He's a fine wrestler. And I think next year he's going to be one of Cabrillo's outstanding athletes.
Well, the thing about him, he's physical.
Yes, he is. Quarterback rolls out, looks back, delivers the ball, but it's intercepted. We were right where we were supposed to be.
And who was it?
Let's look around. Mike Marcelli. Now, he's having a pretty good night.
He's having a good football game.
You're not a kidding. And, you know, he doesn't say too much, He looks down at you because he's sort of tall, but he just always is pretty pleasant, and he's just had a real good football night.
During the discussions in the films tomorrow, he'll be able to sit back.
Absolutely. He'll say, come on, let's go to those films. Fitz, you want to go?
I'm one of the 4 or 5 guys that wants to see him.
Absolutely. Well, for some reason, those films don't lie. They'll show you that you've got mud on your face and dirt on your hands and tears in your eyes, and the ball just doesn't always seem to bounce the right places in those films. We're back into that wishbone. Fitz fakes, throws a little dump pass out, just out of the reach of Scott Duncan.
Good defensive play that time by number 7 for Verbum Dei.
Anthony Grove.
Anthony Grove. A good defensive play that time by him. One thing about, we were going back to the films, one thing about it, they'll see enough of them because Coach Radford, kind of like in the Everett Jones days, he'll show you those plays 2 or 3 times.
Well, one thing about it, Bob will never say to you, time will be the reason that we either fail, that we fail. Time will be the reason we're successful, and they'll spend all the time necessary. Marcelli still on his feet, but the whole Verbum Dei defense right on top of him. No, you're right there. The coaches at Cabrillo will spend all the time necessary to help their athletes become better football players, both confidence-wise as far as doing their assignments. I know how much time we spend because you and I both have been there on Saturday and Sunday when they were still there and their car was there at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Wide slot left, divide. Fitzwilson gives to Kenny Walton. Very short gain. It's going to be 4th and long. Now here's another punting situation. Timeout by Verbum Dei.
Verbum Dei using one of their timeouts with 2:30 left to play in the ball game, and I think that's a wise timeout. We'll be back with the remainder of the ball game after this.
Well, with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left in this ball game, Cabrillo's got the football and they're about to punt it. We need a nice high punt down inside the 5-yard line, Ernie. Got the snap. Ball's, little better now. He's going to try to retrieve this ball. Get the roll. Come on, Big Black. Wasn't inside the 5, but it was on the 8, and that's good enough.
Well, that's a good punt that time. He got it up high, and Cabrillo allowing the people to get out under it, and they covered it well. And so Verbum Dei now with 92 yards to go with 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. I look down on the bench. They have Edgecombe down there. Dr. Kirschwin seemed to be working on the right leg, and I don't know. I didn't see him taken out of the ball game, so there's an injury there to Edgecombe, so let's hope it's not serious.
Got a wing right. Quarterback dumps a little pass off to the wing back. I hope they don't have an ooh-ah pass, because I'll tell you what, right now with 2 minutes left in the ball game, we don't want one of those things floating down the field on us now. Coach Knowles and the defense and Bob Radford's telling them, hey, listen, we've got 1 minute and 51 seconds to play this game. Don't get off guard, don't get caught off guard, and just keep them in front of the goal. Quarterback fakes to the fullback, fades back. There it is. There's the ooh-ah pass. And I'm telling you right now, it's all she wrote if he'd have caught that ball. You heard the stands go, ooh.
It was a good ooh. And a better
wasn't a good ah.
Boy, like you said, they had him out there. Grove, he had about 2 steps on Marcelli. Now, Marcelli has good speed and may well have caught him, but it was a good play.
Right now is where the coaching staff gets a little tense because they know they've played good enough to win, but yet Verbum Dei, with the speed that they have, with 1 minute and 37 seconds, they can't afford to just keep the ball on the ground and the clock running. They've got to throw the ball.
I question that call. Well, of course, they were trying to get the first down, and they got it.
42, Smith, the ball carrier.
But I'm sure we're not going to see them run that ball very much now.
Come on, black and gold. Stay back and keep the white in front.
Eagles pick up the first down.
Quarterback calling the signals, fakes to the fullback, fades back now, looking over the middle, delivers the ball, but it's short.
Pass incomplete, intended for 4, Aubrey Smith. Second and 10 from the 22.
Now, if we can hold them the next 2 plays, get the ball back, we can run the clock out.
Well, minute 20 seconds left to play, and as you say, if they can get the ball back now without, it should be a pretty good omen that Cabrillo will go to the second round.
Well, I think we can play better than we did tonight. Wide receiver, quarterback rolls out to his left, delivers the ball back. No one there. I think that was a hope play. He was hoping somebody'd be there.
Well, what happened was Marcelli held number 20 for Verbum Dei up, and he never recovered. He actually knocked him to his knees, and he never really recovered. He got up and he made a good effort, but Marcelli, again showing his strength on the chuck, actually knocked him off his feet.
Well, we've got 2 more plays, Ernie. 3rd down, 3rd and 10. Ball's on the 21-yard line. Verbum Dei calls timeout.
So that's their 3rd timeout, and with 1:14 seconds left to play in the ball game, Verbum Dei with no more timeouts now, and we'll be back with the finale of this ball game after the
I'll tell you now. Well, I'll tell you, that was a little bit of a heartthrobber. That might take a little bit away from it now, Ernie. With 1 minute and 2 seconds left in the game, Cabrillo has just intercepted a long pass with just good strategy. To me, it looks like we can run the clock out.
Well, Verbum Dei has no more timeouts, so as you say, really, Cabrillo really could just fall on the football for 4 plays now, and with the clock running inside of a minute, and we should see maybe 2 more plays.
Choo-choo! Chooch! Hey, see if Bob will come up for the post-game show.
Wilson, the ball carrier.
Hey,
So the clock running now with 38 seconds left to play, the clock running.
see if Bob...
We'll see one more play,
Come up for a post-game show for the TV.
and it'll be Cabrillo's ball, 2nd down now, and about 13, but the clock running with 24 seconds, 23. I think we're going to have to run another play because it was about 34 seconds when that play ended. They may go ahead and take the penalty, though, Dave.
Well, that won't hurt them a lick now. If they do take the penalty, then, of course, they'll stop the clock, and the only way they can start it again is to get the ball snapped from center.
Well, Cabrillo will move on, winning the ball game 13-6. We'll move on to the 2nd round of CIF. And as you say, Dave, we didn't think the field was in that bad a shape, but apparently this field conditions had something to do with the way both teams played out here tonight.
Well, it obviously caused both teams some real problems. I'll tell you, if it rains too much tonight, I think the field's not going to be in very good shape for Saturday night.
No, it isn't, and there's another ball game here tomorrow night, and that's the end of the ball game. Cabrillo wins it 13-6. And so they'll move on now to the 2nd round of CIF action, and we'll be back with the wrap-up after this. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The final score in tonight's ball game, Cabrillo 13, Verbum Dei 6. And Dave, not the best football game we've seen played, but when he goes in the record book, it doesn't say that.
It's a win, and it doesn't matter. That's our 10th game, and that's one more game than we've ever won at Cabrillo High School, as far as I can remember.
And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the weather out here certainly wasn't the best. We're dressed for the wet weather, and the field was in a little worse shape than I think we realized it was up here. There was a lot of fumbles out there. The footing seemed to have been, especially in the 4th quarter, a little ragged.
There's no question about that. You can see from this distance that there's a lot of spotty places on the field. I think the surface looked a lot drier than it was underneath. So the wet weather, the little bit of the wet weather, the uncertain footing was a big determining factor in tonight's game as far as being reasonably sloppy.
So Cabrillo now 1-0 in CIF playoff. They go on to the 2nd round now. We don't know where they'll go or whether they'll play here or who they'll even play, but certainly the team that they'll play next week is going to be a little better football team than they played tonight, I would think. And we certainly hope that Cabrillo will get back now and channel themselves into the way that we have seen them play and come back and give us some good football for the remainder of the CIF playoff.
Well, I think Bob Radford and his whole staff has to be pretty proud, because when you win 10 football games in a season, you're still going on, you're still in it, and you still have the athletes and the football players thinking that they can be CIF champions.
Okay, now you hit it right on the head, Dave, and I'm going to ask you. Give me your opinion. Do you think they have the ability to go all the way to the finals?
Well, yes, I do, and not based on this football game, because I think this football game they're going to go back, look at the films, and they're going to be very disappointed in how they played tonight. But I think based on past experience and the fact that they played poorly and still won is a good sign that they can go on and win one more football game. And if they say we're going to win one more and then we're going to win one more after that, they can win it all.
Well, I think they have to play it one at a time. I think you hit it right on the head. They played poorly tonight, and I don't think we should take anything to say anything differently. But they were able to win playing poorly, and they didn't play the worst football team that they played all year. It wasn't the best either, but it was a good football team, and they were able to come back and, as you say, play a mediocre ball game and win.
Well, it wasn't the worst football team they played, because they've racked up a lot of points this year. Verbum Dei was physical, they were strong, they could throw the football, and there's no question they could catch. They just made too many errors to stay with the consistency that Cabrillo had. Even with Cabrillo playing poorly and turning the ball over to them, they were able to line up correctly. They got all 11 players on the field most of the time. Their kicking game at times put Verbum Dei in a real bind. Personally, it was not a good spectator game, as was last week, but they still won.
Well, that's true. I was really surprised to see a team come into the CIF playoffs that were still this far into the season as disorganized as Verbum Dei was. I thought that probably that was the biggest problem that they had all night.
They did. They had trouble getting people on the field. They had several times where the athletes were moving when the ball was snapped. I think they're going to go back and say, we should have beaten Cabrillo simply because they gave us the opportunity. But when the going got tough and when they took the ball inside the 20 and marched right down and scored, to me the momentum did turn around, and Cabrillo was right back on top of things.
So the final score for tonight's ball game: Cabrillo 13, Verbum Dei 6. Cabrillo moves into the second round of the CIF playoffs. Dave, I have enjoyed working the ball game with you, and it's been a long time since we've been together.
It was fun. Maybe you ought to come out and start coaching with us again. I need an assistant wrestling coach.
Well, I certainly would like to do that, but I'm afraid my schedule really doesn't permit it. And if I were the assistant wrestling coach, it would be the first time I'd ever done any wrestling coaching in my life. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank Dave Long. We'll be back with you again next week, and we'll watch Channel 21. We'll tell you where and when. And I'm getting a prep here that I can't read because I don't have my glasses on. But apparently we're going to play here in we will be playing Santa Maria next week. So I don't know where, but it will be against Santa Maria. So I'm Ernie Hutchinson along with Dave Long. Thank you for watching, and come out and watch this football team play next week.
Think red.
Discover how